My husband announced I would only be allowed to spend what I personally earned while I was standing in our kitchen holding the pot roast I had spent 6 hours making for him. The gravy was still bubbling in the pan. The carrots were soft enough to cut with the side of a fork. The whole house smelled like rosemary, garlic, butter, and the expensive red wine Mark liked me to use because, as he always said, cheap wine makes cheap sauce. It was Friday night in our house in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of neighborhood with trimmed lawns, matching mailboxes, and people who waved while silently judging your driveway. Friday dinner had been a tradition for almost 19 years. Mark came home from the investment firm downtown, changed out of his suit jacket, took his seat at the head of the dining table, and waited for me to serve him like he was a tired king returning from battle. Our daughter, Lily, was 17 and already smarter than both of us in ways that made me proud and nervous. She was setting out the silverware with one hand and texting with the other, her dark blonde hair twisted into a messy bun on top of her head. "Mom," she said, leaning over the roast, "this smells illegal." I smiled because I needed the compliment more than I wanted to admit. "Tell your father to come sit before it gets cold." At 6:52, Mark walked in from the garage with his laptop bag over one shoulder and that polished smile he used at fundraisers, church brunches, and company dinners. He was 48, handsome in a way that had started toad-penned heavily on good tailoring, with silver at his temples and the confidence of a man who had never had to wonder whether there would be clean socks in his drawer. "Smells incredible," he said. "Your favorite." "I know." He kissed the air near my cheek without really touching me, then sat down at the head of the table. I served him first, the way I always had, then Lily. Then myself. I had just sat down when Mark placed both hands beside his plate and cleared his throat. "I need to make an announcement." Lily froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. "Oh no," she said. "Did you buy another golf simulator thing for the basement?" Mark did not laugh. That was the first warning. I looked at him. "What is it?" He took a slow breath, the kind people take when they have practiced a speech in the mirror. "I've been reviewing our household finances." A cold, familiar feeling moved through my stomach. Mark did not review household finances. I reviewed household finances. Mark reviewed quarterly reports, client portfolios, and the wine list at restaurants where he liked to say, "Bring us something interesting." I reviewed the mortgage, groceries, electricity, insurance, school fees, oil changes, co-pays, birthday gifts, Christmas cards, dog food back when we still had our old golden retriever, and the mystery expenses that appeared in every American household like weeds after rain. "Okay," I said carefully. "And I think we've gotten too comfortable with the way things are." Lily lowered her fork. Mark looked at me, not at her. "Starting this month, we're separating our finances." The room went so silent I could hear the ice maker drop 3 cubes in the kitchen. "Separating," I repeated. "Yes. It's cleaner. More modern. More fair." Fair. That word landed on the table harder than any insult. Mark lifted his chin slightly. "I'll contribute a set amount for household basics. Utilities, groceries, necessary expenses. Beyond that, each of us will spend only what we personally earn." Lily stared at him like he had just spoken another language. "Dad," she said, "you do know. Mom buys everything, right?" Mark's mouth tightened. "That's not the point." "That is literally the point." "Lily," I said softly. But she was already angry. "No, Mom, Dad, he doesn't even know what brand of laundry detergent we use. He thinks toilet paper just appears in the closet because the house loves him." Mark's face hardened. "I will not be mocked at my own dinner table." "Then don't say ridiculous things at it," Lily shot back. "Enough," I said, but my voice came out quieter than I expected. Mark turned back to me, irritated now that his grand announcement had not received applause. "I'm not trying to punish anyone, Grace. I'm trying to create accountability. I work hard. I think it's reasonable that I know where my money is going." His money. For 19 years, his paycheck had gone into our joint account, and from that account I had built our life. The house stayed warm. The pantry stayed full. His dry cleaning appeared in his closet. His mother received flowers on Mother's Day. His boss received a tasteful bottle of bourbon at Christmas. His shirts had collar stays. His vitamins were restocked. His car was detailed before client golf weekends. His favorite coffee was always in the cabinet. His favorite hot sauce never ran out. His leather shoes were resoled before he noticed the heels wearing down. I was not unemployed. I had worked part-time for years doing bookkeeping for 2 small businesses, and I had built a small online shop selling custom embroidered linens, monogrammed baby blankets, and home goods. But because I worked from home, Mark treated it like he a hobby. Something cute. Something for Grace. He liked telling people, "She keeps busy." As if my life were a waiting room. I looked down at the plate in front of me, the roast was perfect. Pink in the center, tender at the edges. Mark cut into his slice. As if he had not just cut into something much deeper. How much are you contributing? I asked. I've calculated what's reasonable. Reasonable for whom? For the household. That includes your golf snacks? Your imported coffee? The wine you insist on? The dry cleaning for your suits? Your protein powder? Your lunches downtown? His eyes narrowed. Don't be petty. Lily laughed once, sharply. Petty? Mom knows the price of your deodorant. You don't know the price of milk. Mark slapped his napkin onto the table. I am the primary provider in this family. There it was. Not partner. Not husband. Provider. A title he used like a crown. I could have screamed. I could have cried. I could have reminded him that when Lily was 3 and had pneumonia, I was the one sitting upright for 4 nights while he slept because he hated an important presentation. I could have told him that when his father died, I handled the funeral food, guest list, thank you cards, insurance calls, and his mother's medication schedule while he accepted condolences like a grieving prince. I could have listed every invisible thing I had done until the roast went cold. But something in me had gone past anger. Anger wants to be heard. Exhaustion starts keeping records. So I set down my fork, folded my napkin, and smiled. All right. Mark blinked. All right? If you want separate finances, we'll have separate finances. Lily turned her head toward me, and for the first time that night, her expression changed. She knew me well enough to know that when I got quiet, I was not surrendering. I was sharpening something. Mark, unfortunately, did not know that. Well, he said, adjusting his cuffs, I'm glad you're being mature. I nodded. Very mature. He relaxed, satisfied, and took a bite of the dinner I had made for him. He closed his eyes for a second like a man enjoying a victory meal. What he did not know was that I had been preparing for a night like this for 10 years. Not because I wanted a war. Because I had learned that women like me needed an exit plan even if we never used the door. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 and did not make Mark's coffee. That sounds small unless you understand Mark's relationship with coffee. He drank a specific Italian roast that cost $24 a bag and acted as if regular coffee were a personal insult. Every morning for years, I had set the machine to brew at 6:10 so the smell would drift upstairs before his alarm. At 6:17, I heard the first cabinet open. Then another. Then the pantry door. Then his footsteps. Grace? I was at the kitchen island eating Greek yogurt with blueberries and reading shipping notifications on my phone. Morning. Where's my coffee? I didn't buy it. He stood there in his dress pants and undershirt, hair damp from the shower, looking genuinely confused. What do you mean you didn't buy it? I bought coffee for the house. I pointed to a canister near the toaster. Store brand medium roast. He stared at it like it had insulted his bloodline. I don't drink that. I know. But your Italian coffee is not a household basic. You can pick it up on your way to work. His jaw moved slightly. Grace. Separate finances, Mark. You said each of us spends what we personally earn. I'm just respecting your system. His expression tightened, but he grabbed his keys. Fine. I'll buy it. He came back 8 minutes later. I forgot my wallet. Lily walked into the kitchen wearing pajama pants and one sock. Rough start to independence, Dad? He glared at her. Don't start. Oh, I think you started. By Monday afternoon, I had reorganized the refrigerator. Left side. My food and Lily's food. Yogurt, fruit, turkey slices, salad kits, leftovers, sparkling water, oat milk, eggs, cheese, and the lemon bars Lily loved. Right side Mark's food. Ketchup, half a jar of pickles, mustard, 2 beers, and a suspicious container of old salsa. On the middle shelf, I placed a folded note. Left, Grace and Lily right, Mark when Mark opened the fridge. After work, he stared at it for 20 seconds. Then he called out, is this a joke? He was folding towels in the living room. No, this is my refrigerator. It's our refrigerator. That is your side. You're being childish. I'm being financially independent. Lily passed behind him, grabbed a lemon bar from the left side, and said, stay strong, Dad. Hunger builds character. Tuesday, Mark ran out of his shampoo. Wednesday, he asked why there were no razors in his bathroom drawer. Thursday, the dry cleaner called him directly because I had changed the account phone number to his. Friday, he discovered that the amount he had decided was reasonable for groceries barely covered his coffee, lunch meat, beer, and the steaks he bought because he refused to eat girl food, which apparently meant vegetables. By the second Friday, he came home irritated and hungry. I had made chicken pot pie for Lily and me. The crust was golden, flaky, and brushed with butter. It sat on the counter cooling beside a green salad and a bowl of mashed potatoes. Mark walked in, inhaled, and his whole face softened. Finally, he said. I looked up from my laptop. Finally what? A real dinner. It is a real dinner. He waited. I closed my laptop. For Lily and me. His face changed. Are you serious? Yes. You cooked a whole pot pie and didn't make enough for me? I made enough for the people whose groceries I bought. Lily, sitting at the table with her college prep book open, did not even look up. It's amazing, by the way. Mark stared at her. You're enjoying this? She looked at him then. No. I'm enjoying food mom paid for, cooked, and served without being treated like staff. That hit him harder than anything I had said. For a few seconds, guilt flickered across his face. Then pride smothered it. I'm going out. Use your own money, I said. He slammed the door behind him. At 10:40 that night, he came home smelling like bourbon and steakhouse butter. I was in bed reading. He stood in the doorway, tie loose, phone in his hand. Do you know how embarrassing it was to tell the guys I couldn't cover the table tonight because I'm budgeting? I turned a page. No, they laughed. That must have been hard. He frowned. You don't have to sound so pleased. I'm not pleased. I'm informed. He walked into the room. Grace, this is getting ridiculous. I closed the book on my finger. You announced a new family system over dinner without discussing it with me. I accepted. Now the system is ridiculous because you're experiencing it. I didn't mean for us to live like roommates. No. You meant for me to keep managing the wife parts for free while you kept more spending money. That's not fair. Neither was your announcement. He stared at me. For the first time in years, Mark had no sentence ready. That should have been the first turning point, but the real damage came 2 weeks later at his mother's birthday lunch. Patricia Miller was 74, elegant, sharp, and still terrifying in beige cashmere. She had spent her life making cruelty sound like concern. She belonged to 3 charity boards, knew every judge in Franklin County by first name, and could make a server apologize for breathing too loudly. Mark adored her approval like oxygen. Every year, I organized her birthday lunch. I reserved the private room, ordered flowers, coordinated cousins, bought the cake, reminded Mark to call his brother, wrapped her gift, and wrote the card that he signed. This year, I did none of that. Mark did not notice until 9:13 on Saturday morning. Grace, he called from the hallway. Where's Mom's gift? I was at the kitchen table boxing 12 embroidered table runners for a wedding order. What gift? He appeared in the doorway, already dressed in a navy blazer. My mother's birthday gift. I didn't buy one. His face went blank. You always buy one. I used to. Grace, the lunchies at noon. I know. What am I supposed to give her? Something you choose and pay for. His voice dropped. Do not do this today. Do what? Make a point at my mother's expense. I looked at him for a long moment. Mark, your mother has received beautiful gifts from you for 18 years because I bought them. She has received thoughtful cards from you because I wrote them. She has received flowers, framed photos, silk scarves, spa baskets, and once a signed first edition cookbook because I remembered a story she told in 2009. If you don't know what to give your own mother, that is not my cruelty showing. It's your absence. His ears turned red. You're unbelievable. No. I was convenient. He left without speaking. At the restaurant, Patricia noticed. Of course she noticed. The gift Mark bought from a boutique near the restaurant was a scented candle in a dented box with the clearance sticker still half visible on the bottom. The card said, Happy birthday, Mom. Love, Mark. That was it. No memory. No warmth. No thoughtful line about her garden club or her late husband or the lemon cake she used to bake when Mark was a boy. Patricia read it, looked at the candle, then looked at me across the table. Grace, she said, did you have a busy week? The private room went quiet. I smiled politely. Yes, Patricia. Very productive. Her eyes narrowed. I can tell. Mark's hand tightened around his water glass. After lunch, while the family gathered outside near the valet stand, Patricia cornered me beneath the striped awning. I don't know what game you're playing, she said. I adjusted my coat. I'm not playing a game. You embarrass me, son, today. Mark is 48. He bought his mother a candle. That's not my scandal. Her face sharpened. A wife's job is to make her husband look good. I looked her dead in the eye. No, Patricia. A wife is not a costume department. She stepped closer. You should be careful. Mark is generous, but he has limits. So do I. That was when she smiled. Not kindly. Women who get too proud usually discover how little they actually own. I did not answer, but I felt the words settle somewhere deep. That night, Mark and I had the ugliest fight of our marriage. Not loud at first. Loud would have been easier. It started with him pacing the kitchen while I cleaned the counters. You humiliated him in front of my family. You humiliated yourself. My mother thinks we're having marital problems. We are. His eyes flashed. Because you're making them. I put the sponge down. No, Mark. You opened a door. I walked through it. He leaned against the counter. You know, Mom said something. Today. I'm sure she did. She said maybe I've been too soft. I laughed once because I could not help it. Soft? She thinks you've gotten comfortable. I stared at him. For 19 years, I had kept his life soft. Warm meals. Clean sheets, remembered birthdays. Packed lunches. Balanced accounts. A daughter raised with love. A home that ran so smoothly he mistook ease for his own achievement. And now his mother thought I was comfortable. What exactly do you think I do all day? I asked. He hesitated. That's not what I meant. No, say it. He exhaled, annoyed. You have your little business. Your errands. The house. I'm not saying you do nothing. My little business. You know what I mean. I do. He was tired, embarrassed, and angry. That made him careless. I carry the heavy weight, Grace. I always have. Something inside me went still. Not broken. Still. Do you? He folded his arms. Yes. Then you won't mind carrying it alone for a while. The next Monday, I stopped being the family's invisible operating system. I did not remind Mark about his dentist appointment. He missed it. And paid the cancellation fee. I did not pack his gym bag. He went to the club without socks. I did not renew the tag on his car. He discovered it when a parking officer left a ticket under his windshield. I did not remind him about the homeowner association payment. He received a late notice in bright red ink. I did not text him the name of Lily's college counselor before their Zoom meeting. He joined 12 minutes late and called her Linda 3 times. Her name was Melissa. And I did not cover his part of Lily's SAT prep payment when his transfer to the household account came in short. That one caused the first crack. Lily came into my office holding her phone. Mom, I looked up from a spreadsheet. What's wrong? The tutoring payment bounced. Her face was calm, but her eyes were not. Lily had worked too hard for too long. She wanted to study environmental engineering. She had color-coded folders, scholarship deadlines taped above her desk, and a stubborn belief that she could build a life bigger than our neighborhood. I took the phone from her. And read the email. Then I called Mark. He answered on speaker. I could hear restaurant noise behind him. Hey, I'm at lunch. Your half of Lily's SAT prep didn't clear. There was a pause. I'll handle it later. It's due today. I said I'll handle it. Lily stood beside me, hearing every word. How much was your lunch? I asked. What? How much? Was the lunch you're at right now? Grace, don't start. Did you spend Lily's tutoring money on a client lunch? It's business. No. It's a choice. He lowered his voice. I'll move money tonight. You already moved money. Just not enough. Silence. Then he said the sentence that changed the way Lily looked at him. She can't skip a month. It's not the end of the world. Lily flinched. I hung up. I paid the full amount myself. Not from the joint account. From my business account. Lily stood in my office doorway, pale and furious. He would have let me lose my spot? I wanted to protect him. Old habits are stubborn. Wives are trained to translate men's selfishness into stress, fatigue, pressure, confusion. But I was done. Translating. Yes, I said. Her mouth trembled. Because of lunch? Because he assumed someone else would fix it. She looked at me for a long time. You mean you? I nodded. That evening, Lily did not come down for dinner. Mark noticed at 8:15. Where's Lily? In her room. Is she sick? No, he looked toward the stairs. What did you tell her? The truth. His face darkened. You're turning my daughter against me. I stood from the table. No, Mark. You're finally introducing yourself. He went upstairs. I heard his soft knock. Then Lily's voice, flat and cold. I don't want to talk to you. Lily, sweetheart, don't sweetheart me after you said my tutoring didn't matter. I didn't say that. You did. I heard you. There was silence. Then her door closed. Mark came back downstairs looking wounded, as if had been attacked by consequences. For the next week, the house became quiet in a way that felt dangerous. Mark tried small gestures. He bought groceries but forgot half the list and came home with $70 worth of protein bars. He loaded the dishwasher and used dish soap instead of dishwasher detergent, flooding the kitchen floor with bubbles. He offered to cook dinner and burned frozen pizza because he took a call in the garage. I did not mock him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I let him learn. Then the second twist arrived in a cream-colored envelope from a bank I did not recognize. It came on a Thursday afternoon. Addressed to Mark only. I would normally have put it on his desk without opening it, but we had separated finances, and Mark had insisted that household transparency mattered. The envelope was not marked private. It was thin, official, and somehow ugly. I opened it. Inside was a notice for a home equity line of credit application against our house. For $85,000. I read the letter 3 times before I understood it. Mark had applied to borrow against the house without telling me. Our house. The house my grandmother had helped us buy with the down payment she left me. The house whose mortgage I had managed through layoffs, medical bills, and Mark's 8-month career transition that he still described as strategic. The house where Lily took her first steps. The house where I had built my business from a folding table in the laundry room. When Mark came home, I was waiting at the dining table. The envelope lay between us. His face changed the moment he saw it. Grace, no, he loosened his tie. I was going to tell you. When? After the bank approved it. It's not what you think. That's usually what people say when it is exactly what I think. He pulled out a chair but did not sit. I needed liquidity. For what? He looked away. For an opportunity. What opportunity? He said nothing. I stood up so slowly the chair scraped against the hardwood. Mark. He rubbed his forehead. My firm is opening Apprivate partnership track. There's a buy-in. It could change everything for us. For us? Yes. You are going to risk our house for your career without telling me. It's not a risk. It's an investment. Then why hide it? His mouth tightened. Because you would be overreacted. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You announced I could only spend what I earned, then tried to use the house I helped pay for as your personal ATM. That house is in both our names. And so is the debt you tried to create. He finally sat down. I was trying to get ahead. No, Mark. You were trying to look bigger than you are. His head snapped up. Watch it. No. You watch it. My voice was quiet, but it filled the room. You don't get to call my work little, my spending irresponsible, and my labor invisible while you secretly apply to put $85,000 of debt on this family. He leaned forward. I make decisions under pressure every day. You don't understand that world. I understand signatures. That stopped him. What? I reached into my folder and slid a copy of the mortgage documents across the table. Any home equity line requires both signatures. He looked down. You went through our files? I manage our files. Remember? His face turned gray. I continued. I also called the bank. The application cannot proceed without my consent. He swallowed. And I will not consent. For a moment, all his authority drained out of him. Not because I yelled. Not because I threatened divorce. Because I had touched the mechanism he thought he controlled and removed my hand from it. You're sabotaging me, he whispered. No, I said. I'm protecting Lily and myself from you. He stared at me as if I had slapped him. That night he slept in the guest room. The next morning, Patricia called me. Of course Mark had called his mother. Grace, she said, voice smooth as glass. We need to talk. No, Patricia, we didn't. My son is under enormous pressure. So am I. You are making emotional decisions. I'm making documented ones. She was silent for half a beat. Mark told me about the credit line. I think you're being short-sighted. There it is. Excuse him? The reason he thought he could do this. You told him I'd fold. Her voice cooled. I told him a man has a right to invest in his future. With his wife's signature forged by optimism. Don't be dramatic. Don't be involved. She inhaled sharply. You forget who helped you become part of this family. No, Patricia. I remember exactly. That's why I'm finished paying admission. I hung up. My hands shook afterward, but not from fear. From release. The third twist came 2 days later, and it did not come from Mark. It came from Lily. She knocked on my office door after school, holding her laptop against her chest. Mom, can I show you something? I was printing shipping labels. Always. She sat across from me, opened her laptop, and turned the screen around. It was a spreadsheet. A very detailed spreadsheet. What am I looking at? Dad's spending. I stared at her. Lily. I know. Privacy. But he used the family iPad and never logged out of his email. I wasn't snooping at first. A receipt popped up. What receipt? She clicked a tab. A hotel. Not local. Not business. Our sort in Scottsdale. Arizona. 3 nights. $2,400. Booked for the same weekend he had told us he had a leadership retreat in Cleveland. My throat tightened. Maybe it's for work. Lily said nothing. She clicked another tab. A jewelry store receipt. A gold bracelet, $180. Not charged to our joint account. Charged to a card I had never seen. Midotter's voice was quiet. Mom, it gets worse. She opened a folder of screenshots. Emails between Mark and a woman named Denise Carver. Denise was not a mistress in the cheap, obvious way stories like top present. She was not 25, not helpless, not some glittering cliché. She was 46, divorced, ambitious, and a senior partner at Mark's firm. I had met her twice. She wore silk blouses, laughed softly, and looked at people like she was assigning them value. The emails were not explicit enough to be soap opera proof. But they were intimate enough to break something. Can't wait to have you away from all the noise. You deserve a life where you're appreciated. Once the money is separate, you'll finally be able to move. She doesn't understand the level you operate on. My eyes burned. Lily whispered, I'm sorry. I wanted to collapse. Instead, I scrolled. There it was. The reason for the separate finances. Not fairness. Not accountability. Exit strategy. Mark had been preparing to leave, but he wanted to make sure I looked dependent, unstable, and financially smaller before he did it. Separate the money. Reduce the household contribution. Pressure the wife. Build a record. Borrow against the house if possible. Impress Denise. Buy into the partnership. Then walk away wearing the suit of a responsible man escaping a burdensome marriage. I stood up too fast. Lily reached for me. Mom? I gripped the edge of the desk. For 19 years, I had feared being unappreciated. I had not prepared myself for being strategically erased. That night, I did not confront him. Not yet. A younger version of me would have stormed into the guest room with the laptop and demanded answers, shaking with humiliation. Mark would have denied. Then minimized. Then blamed. Then called me emotional. Then Patricia would have called me unstable by breakfast. I had learned from men like Mark. Never bring feelings to a paper fight. Bring paper. The next morning, after Mark left for work, I called my accountant, my attorney, and the bank. Then I called my biggest client. Her name was Monica Wells, and she owned 4 boutique hotels across the Midwest. She had ordered custom linens from me 2 years earlier, then another batch, then another. What Mark called my little business had quietly become a supplier to women who owned restaurants, wedding venues, event companies, and hotels. Monica had been asking me for months to expand production and offer a premium line under my own name. I had been afraid. Not because I lack skill. Because women like me are taught to keep dreams small enough that no one in the house feels threatened. That morning, I said yes. By the end of the week, I had a signed contract large enough to cover Lily's entire first year of college at a state university. I did not tell Mark. I also contacted a real estate attorney about the house. That was when I discovered the final twist, the one even Mark did not know. My grandmother's down payment had not been a gift to both of us. It had been recorded as my separate contribution in the closing documents, preserved by a clause my grandmother's attorney had insisted on because, as she apparently told him, I love Grace's husband, but I trust my granddaughter more. I sat in the attorney's office reading the file with tears running down my face. My grandmother had been dead for 12 years, and still she had reached across time to put a hand on my shoulder. The house was marital property, yes. But my separate contribution was documented. If Mark tried to force a sale, hired. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. Not loudly. Just enough to scare the fear out of my guest. The confrontation happened at a charity dinner 9 days later. Patricia had insisted we attend. It was for a hospital foundation, held in a downtown ballroom with crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, and women wearing diamonds with the casual confidence of people who called donations commitments. Mark wanted us there because Denise would bet here. Patricia wanted us there because she believed public settings made women behave. She was right about many women. She was wrong about me. I wore a black dress I had bought with my own money and a pair of pearl earrings my grandmother left me. Lily stayed home with a friend, though before I left she hugged me and whispered, "Don't let them make you small." I promised her I wouldn't. At our table sat Mark, Patricia, Denise Carver, Denise's business partner, 2 board members, and me. Denise smiled when I sat down. Grace. It's lovely to see you. Denise. Her eyes flicked over my dress, my pearls, my calm face. You look different. I am. Mark stiffened slightly. Dinner began. Speeches followed. Patricia performed warmth for the room, touching Mark's arm, introducing him as my son, the financial mind of the family. Denise leaned toward him when she laughed. Mark avoided looking at me. Then the foundation chairwoman announced the evening's major silent auction donors. And we are especially grateful to Grace Miller Designs for donating the custom heirloom linen package for our presidential suite fundraiser. Mark's head turned so fast I thought he might hurt his neck. Patricia froze with her wine glass halfway to her mouth. Denise blinked. Across the ballroom, two women turned and waved at me. Monica Wells was one of them. I smiled and lifted my hand. The chairwoman continued. Grace Miller's work has been featured in 5 of Monica Wells Hospitality's boutique properties, and we're thrilled to announce her upcoming artisan home line launching this fall. Applause rose around the room. Mark stared at me. You donated under your business? Yes. You know Monica Wells? Yes. Denise looked from me to Mark. You didn't mention your wife worked with Monica. Mark's jaw tightened. I didn't realize the scale. I turned to him, you never asked. Patricia leaned close, voice low. Grace, this is not the place. I looked at her. You're absolutely right. Then I stood. Mark's face went pale. Grace, he whispered. But I was already walking toward Monica, who had just approached our table with the foundation chairwoman. Grace, Monica said warmly, there you are. She hugged me in front of everyone, not a polite side hug. A real one. Then she turned to Denise. Denise, you know Grace? We've been trying to convince her to stop hiding in her home office and take over the world. Denise smiled tightly. How impressive. It is, Monica said. Actually, we're finalizing a supplier contract next week. I told her if her husband doesn't understand what she's built, that's his loss. The silence at the table was delicious. I did not look at Mark yet. I wanted him to sit in it. Then Patricia, unable to help herself, said, Grace has always enjoyed crafts. Monica's smile disappeared. Crafts? Patricia lifted one shoulder. You know, domestic things. It turned to Patricia then. No, Patricia. Revenue. Contracts. Margins. Payroll. Taxes, production schedules. Client acquisition. Those domestic things. Denise looked down at her plate. Mark whispered, please sit down. I did sit. But not because he scared. Because the real show had not started. After dessert, Mark pulled me into the hallway near the coat check. What the hell was that? That was me not making you look good. His face flushed, you blindsided me. Interesting feeling, isn't it? He glanced around. Keep your voice down. No, Grace. No, Mark. You wanted separate finances. You wanted accountability. You wanted everyone to know who earns what. And who carries what. So let's be accountable. His eyes sharpened. What does that mean? It means I know about the $85,000 credit line. We discussed that. No. Stop that. He swallowed. And I know about Scottsdale. The color left his face. For 2 seconds, he became a stranger wearing my husband's tuxedo. Grace, and Denise. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. She's a colleague. She's a woman who wrote that you deserved a life away from all the noise. He looked toward the ballroom. Don't do this here. Why? Public settings make women behave, right? He stared at me. That was when he understood Patricia had said more than she should have. I stepped closer. I know why you separated the money. I know you were building a story where I was dependent, emotional, and expensive. I know you planned to move money where I couldn't see it. I know you tried to borrow against the house, and I know you were hoping I'd either beg or break. His voice became quiet. You went through my email. Lily saw a receipt. Your daughter saw what you were becoming before I did. Pain flickered across his face, but I did not soften. Not yet. You brought our child into this? He asked. No. You did when you decided her tutoring mattered less than your steak lunch. You did when you treated her future like an optional expense. You did when you taught her what women should never tolerate. He leaned against the wall. I made mistakes. No, Mark. You made plans. That sentence hit him like a verdict. Behind him, the ballroom doors opened, and Denise stepped out. She saw us and stopped. For a moment, all 3 of us stood under the soft hallway lights, dressed beautifully, looking ruined. Is everything okay? Denise asked. I smiled. Actually, yes. I was just telling my husband I know about Scottsdale. Denise's face hardened, but she recovered quickly. That was a business retreat. Booked under 2 names with 1 king bed? Mark closed his eyes. Denise looked at him. You told me she didn't know anything. There it was. A gift. Mark opened his eyes. Denise, don't. I laughed once. Thank you. Denise realized too late what she had confirmed. I turned to Mark. You don't have to come home tonight. His face twisted. Grace, wait. No. You wanted life according to what each of us earned. Tonight you earned a hotel room. Then I walked back into the ballroom, thanked Monica for the evening, and left through the front doors with my head high and my hands shaking inside my coat pockets. Lily was awake when I got home. She was sitting on the stairs in pajama pants, holding our old golden retriever's collar. We had lost Buddy 3 years earlier, and she still kept his collar in a box when she was anxious. How bad was it? She asked. He sat beside her. Bad. Did he lie? Yes. Did you let him? No, she leaned her head on my shoulder and. For a while we sat there without speaking. Finally, she whispered, Are we going to bouquet? I looked around the house. The staircase Mark never vacuumed. The hallway photos I had framed. The living room where Lily had built blanket forts. The office where I had sewn, packed, invoiced, cried, planned, and survived. Yes, I said, but not because of him. Mark did not come home that night. He came home at 11:20 the next morning, wearing the same tuxedo shirt under his overcoat. He looked like a man who had slept badly in an expensive room. I was at the dining table with my attorney on speakerphone. He stopped in the doorway. Is this a bad time? Yes, I said. Come in. His eyes moved from me to the papers spread across the table. What is all this? Protection. The attorney greeted him politely. Mark sat down slowly. For the next 40 minutes, I did not cry. I did not accuse. I did not perform heartbreak. I laid out terms. No home equity line. Full financial disclosure within 7 days. Separate credit reports. Legal postnuptial agreement protecting my business. Lily's education fund, and my documented contribution to the house. Marriage counseling if he wanted any chance of staying married. Individual counseling for him before I would discuss reconciliation. No, and if that was impossible, he would transfer divisions or find another job. A written apology to Lily with no excuses. Household expenses split according to real costs, not Mark's fantasy numbers. Household labor listed, assigned, and reviewed every Sunday evening until he understood that homes did not maintain themselves by female magic. Mark listened with his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles went white. When the attorney disconnected, he said, You're treating me like a criminal. I looked at him. No. I'm treating you like a risk. He flinched. I never meant to hurt Lily. But you did. I never meant for Denise. Stop. He stopped. I folded my hands. Do not make her the center of this. This is not a story about a seductive colleague and a confused husband. This is a story about a man who thought his wife was too small to notice him moving the walls. His eyes filled. I had seen Mark emotional before. At funerals. At Lily's kindergarten graduation, when his favorite team lost a playoff game. But this was different. This was not emotion asking to be comforted. It was shame looking for somewhere to stand. I didn't know how I became this, he whispered. I believed him. That did not absolve him. You became this one assumption at a time, I said. Every time you thought your time mattered more. Every time you thought my work was cute. Every time you let your mother define respect as obedience. Every time you enjoyed the life I built and called yourself the builder. He covered his face with both hands. For once, I did not reach across the table. A week later, Mark moved into the guest room permanently. Not out of performance. Out of consequence. He signed the financial disclosure. He signed the postnuptial agreement after his own lawyer told him it was fair and far better than what a judge might do if he fought me after the credit line attempt. He wrote Lily a letter by hand, and she read it at the kitchen island with her face blank. When she finished, she said, I need time. To his credit, he did not ask how much. Patricia called 6 times. I answered on the 7th, You are destroying this family, she said. No, Patricia. I'm refusing to be the furniture in it. You will regret humiliating my son. Your son humiliated himself. He made a mistake. He made a strategy. She went silent. I continued. And you helped. Her voice became ice. You have no idea what marriage requires. I know exactly what mine required. That's why I'm changing the price. I blocked her number after that. The months that followed were not cinematic in the way people want revenge to be. There were no smashed vases, no dramatic courthouse steps, no shouting in the rain. The real revenge was quieter. It was Mark standing in the grocery aisle comparing unit prices because he now had to plan Thursday dinners. It was him asking Lily, Do you want me at your college tour? And accepting when she said, Not this one. It was Patricia sending a birthday card addressed only to Mark and Lily writing, Return to sender across it in purple marker. It was Denise leaving the firm 3 weeks after Monica quietly moved her foundation accounts elsewhere and 2 board members asked why a senior partner had been named in a marital financial dispute. I never called Denise's boss. I did not have to. Powerful women talk. That was another thing Mark had never understood. While He was performing importance in conference rooms, women were building networks in school pickup lines, charity committees, vendor calls, client referrals, and late-night texts that began with, "Do you know someone who can help?" My business grew, not overnight. Not magically. But steadily. Monica's contract led to 2 hotel orders, the hotel orders led to a feature in a regional lifestyle magazine. The article led to a waiting list. I rented a small studio with exposed brick, wide windows, and enough room for 6 sewing machines. I hired 2 women part-time, both mothers who needed flexible hours and both sharper than any resume could show. The first day I unlocked the studio, Lily came with me. The walls smelled like fresh paint. Sunlight cut across the floor in golden rectangles. There was dust on the windowsill and a leak under the utility sink, and I loved every inch of it. Lily stood in the middle of the room and spun once. "Mom," she said, "this is yours." I held the key so tightly it left a mark in my palm. "No," I said. "This is proof." "Proof of what?" "That I was never waiting to be saved." She hugged me then, hard. Later that afternoon, Mark arrived carrying a toolbox. I had not asked him to come. Lily had mentioned the studio, and he had asked if there was anything practical he could do. I expected him to make the moment about himself. Old Mark would have walked in, found a flaw, offered advice no one requested, and waited to be praised for knowing how to hold a drill. But he stood at the door and said, "Where do you want the shelves?" I studied him. There were still things broken between us. Trust does not grow back because Amon learns the price of apples. Love does not heal because apologies improve. But I saw something in him I had not seen before. Uncertainty. It made him more human than confidence ever had. "Against that wall," I said. He nodded. For 3 hours, I installed shelves while Lily helped me unpack fabric. He did not complain. He did not direct. He did not call it a favor. When he finished, he swept the floor. Before he left, he stood near the door, looking around. "I'm proud of you," he said. The words should have felt late. They were late. But they were also real. "Thank you," I said. That he nodded and left without asking for more. That mattered. By spring, Lily received her acceptance letter from Ohio State's engineering program with a scholarship that made her scream so loudly our neighbor texted to ask if we were all alive. Mark was in the kitchen making dinner when it happened. Actual dinner. Salmon, rice, green beans. Slightly overcooked, beautiful. Lily ran downstairs with the letter in her hand. "I got it." I cried first, Mark cried second. Lily cried last because she was trying to pretend she was above crying, which made all of us laugh. Then she turned to Mark. "You can come to Admitted Students Day," she said. His face changed. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. But don't make it about you." Hannah did immediately. "I won't." And he didn't. That was how I knew he was learning, not fixed. Not redeemed in one grand speech. Learning. People like clean endings. They want to know whether I divorced him or forgave him. They want punishment or romance, a villain destroyed or a marriage restored. The truth is less simple and more honest. I did not divorce Mark that year. I also did not return to being the woman he could overlook. We stayed legally married, but the old marriage died. I mourned it in strange ways. I cried while throwing away expired spices. I cried when I found birthday cards I had written to Patricia in Mark's name. I cried the first Friday I cooked pot roast again and realized I no longer knew whether I was making it because I loved him or because I loved who I had been when I believed love was enough. Mark went to counseling. At first, he came home with language that sounded borrowed. Emotional labor. Entitlement patterns. Family systems. I almost laughed the first time he said, weaponized incompetence, because hearing Mark Miller say it while holding a laundry basket felt like watching a banker discover gravity. But over time, the words became actions. He learned Lily's schedule without asking me. He bought his mother's birthday gift himself, and when Patricia complained that it was practical, he told her, "Then you can return it, but Grace is done doing my loving for me." He cooked every Wednesday. He did laundry badly, then better. He sat with the real household budget every Sunday evening and did not flinch when the numbers proved, again and again, that my invisible work had been the thing keeping his visible success polished. And I kept growing. My studio became more than a business. On Saturday mornings, I taught workshops for women who wanted to turn skills into income: sewing, bookkeeping basics, pricing, photographing products, saying no to clients who wanted discounts because it's just something you enjoy. Sometimes the women came with babies in carriers. Sometimes they came after divorce. Sometimes they came wearing wedding rings in fear. I told them the truth. Money is not love. But money can show you where respect is missing. That line ended up on a whiteboard in the studio. Lily took a picture of it and posted it online. It went viral in a small, strange way. Zona. Some said they were opening secret savings accounts. Some said they were going back to school. Some said they had just realized they were the operating system of a life someone else was taking credit for. Mark saw the post. He did not ask me to take it down. He said, "That sounds like something your grandmother would be," said. I looked at him. She protected me before I knew I needed it. I'm glad she did, he said. That was the first time he admitted he had been something I needed protection from. It did not erase the past. But it placed the truth where it belonged. The biggest confrontation with Patricia came in June, at Lily's graduation party. I hosted it in your backyard. Because Lily wanted string lights, barbecue, and a dessert table with brownies, lemon bars, and an absurd number of cupcakes. Mark handled the grill. Not performatively. Actually. He planned the menu, bought the food, marinated the chicken, and burned only one tray of vegetables. Friends came. Neighbors came. Lily's teachers came. Monica came with flowers. My employees came and made Lily cry by giving her a handmade quilt embroidered with tiny green leaves for environmental engineering. Then Patricia arrived. She wore white linen and pearls, carrying no gift. The backyard quieted slightly when she stepped onto the patio. Some people have a way of bringing weather with them. She kissed Mark's cheek, hugged Lily stiffly, and looked at me. Grace. Patricia. For 20 minutes, she behaved. Then she found me near the drink table. I hear you've become quite the businesswoman, she said. I was one before. You're just hearing about it now. Her smile did not reach her eyes. And Mark is cooking in the yard. Yes. How modern. How fair. She looked toward him. He was laughing with Lily's physics teacher, wearing an apron that said "Ask me about my marinade" because Lily had bought it as a joke. You've changed him, Patricia said. No. I stopped cushioning him. He was raised to lead. He was raised to be served. Her face hardened. You think humiliating a man makes you strong? I took a slow breath. No. I think telling the truth makes me free. She leaned closer. You may have fooled everyone here with your little success story, but I know what you are a wife who forgot her place. I was about to answer when Mark's voice came from behind her. No, Mom. Patricia turned. Mark stood there holding a pair of grill tongs, looking pale but steady. She remembered her place, he said. I forgot mine. The backyard did not go silent, exactly. But the space around us did. Patricia blinked. Mark, no. I let Grace carry this family and called it my leadership. I let you disrespect her because it made me feel important. I almost risked our house. I hurt mid-otter. I don't need you defending me from consequences I earned. Her mouth opened. He continued. And if you can't respect my wife in her own home, you can leave. For a moment, Patricia looked genuinely stunned. Not hurt. Not reflective. Stunned, because for the first time, her son had chosen truth over her approval. Lily stood near the dessert table, watching. I did not move. Patricia looked at me with hatred polished into elegance, then she set her untouched lemonade on the table and walked out through the side gate. No one clapped. Real life is better than that. But Lily crossed the yard, wrapped her arms around Mark, and whispered something I could not hear. Mark closed his eyes and held her like a man receiving a gift he knew he did not deserve. That night, after everyone left and the backyard smelled like smoke, sugar, and summer grass, Mark and I sat under the string lights. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I don't expect you to forgive me. I know. I don't know if I would forgive me. That's not my job to solve. He nodded. I'm still going to keep trying. I looked at him. His face was older now. Less polished. More tired. More honest. Don't try to win me back, I said. Try to become someone who doesn't need a woman to disappear so he can feel large. He swallowed. Okay. And Mark? Yes? If you ever make another financial decision behind my back, if you ever use Lily's future as leverage, if you ever let another person speak to me like I'm furniture in my own life, I will leave. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Completely. He looked at me. I believe you. That was the most romantic thing he had said in years. Because it meant he finally understood I could. Today, our Friday dinners still happen, but they are not ceremonies for Mark anymore. Sometimes I cook. Sometimes he cooks. Sometimes Lily comes home from college and orders takeout because, as she says, healing is great, but Thai food is faster. We sit at the same dining table where Mark once announced separate finances like a king issuing law. The table has been sanded and refinished now. I did it myself in the garage over 3 weekends, then made Mark help carry it back inside because partnership includes heavy lifting. We still talk about money. Not in whispers. Not in threats. Not after someone has already made a decision. We talk about the mortgage, groceries, taxes, business expenses, retirement, Lily's books, car repairs, and who bought the good coffee. Mark buys his own Italian roast now. Sometimes he buys mine too, but only after asking if I want it. That matters. My studio has 8 employees now. On the wall near the entrance hangs a framed photo of my grandmother, young and fierce, standing in front of her first house with one hand on her hip. Beneath it is a small brass plaque Lily gave me for Christmas. It says, "She knew." Every time I unlock the door, I touch the frame. Mark and I are still rebuilding, but not toward what we were. I do not want that life back. That life looked comfortable from the outside because I was absorbing all the discomfort. It looked stable because I was bending under the weight. It looked loving because I had mistaken self-erasure for devotion. I loved me husband. That was never the mistake. The mistake was letting my love become a service he forgot to respect. The night he told me each of us should spend only what we earned, het hot he was shrinking my world. He thought he was reminding me who held the power. Instead, he handed me a measuring tape. And once I measured everything, the money, the labor, the lies, the silence, the house, the business, the daughter watching from across the table, I realized I was not small at all. I had been everywhere. In the meals. In the accounts. In the clean shirts. In the paid bills. In the remembered birthdays. In the daughter who knew her worth. In the business growing quietly in the back room. In the house my grandmother helped me protect. In every invisible thread holding our life together. So when someone tells you, from now on, everyone gets only what they earn, do not panic. Smile. Agree. Then stop giving away what they never counted, because some people only discover your value when they finally have to pay the real cost of living without it.